Sixers. They have training camp opening in 1 week from now. And, of course, we're your home for Sixers basketball, 97.3 ESPN. He covers the Sixers for 97.3 ESPN.com. Michael Kaskey-Blomain, and he joins us now to give us some insight and opinions on what is happening with the Sixers, because yesterday there was a lot of information thrown out there, Michael, and I guess the most telling is no 5-on-5 yet for Joel Embiid.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest takeaway, I think, Mike. Everyone's obviously waiting to, hear to find out what Joel's status will be for the upcoming season. I think we'll get a much better idea of that next week, as you said, after the team gets underway at training camp, and we can kind of see what Joel is able to do out on the floor. But, I think that was definitely the biggest takeaway that from yesterday with Brett was definitely the, Embiid's status is still – it sounds all right. Brian Colangelo said there was no setbacks. It said the team is just being hyper cautious, as they have been, but it's still, with the regular season now a month away, we're getting down to that point where I think people will start to wonder again what's up with Joel.
All right, so were you surprised by that? Did you anticipate them saying that he would be ready, or, is this a surprise that he's not ready?
I don't think it's necessarily a surprise. He hasn't been playing 5-on-5 all summer. I think for, per team doctor request, they haven't wanted him to. I think that now that, with training camp coming up, they'll try to want to kind of work him back into that 5-on-5 regimen. So he's good to go for the regular season. So I think it's kind of just par for the course as far as them being extra cautious in this process. They don't want him to go from, not playing at all over the course of the offseason to jumping right into 5-on-5 work at training camp. So unless there's a setback or something else that we don't know that hasn't been announced yet, I'm not necessarily overly concerned at this point.
So, is it a little bit of is it a little bit strange or alarming that Embiid has not been cleared, even though it's 6 months removed from what is typically a 4 to 6 month type of injury? This sounds kind of Jahlil Okafor-ish.
Yeah, the timeline is definitely a little bit, questionable, going all the way back, obviously, to last year when we talked about the, when the injury initially happened and how the team handled it. It's definitely taken longer than, expected for him to be cleared for 5-on-5. But again, we have to take the team at their word for right now, which is that, there's nothing wrong. It's just a matter of being, very conservative. And if that's the case, then hopefully he will, get back into shape, obviously, at camp next week and be good to go when preseason games start in about 10 days.
Hey, Michael, how about Ben Simmons? So what's the update on Ben Simmons? Mike Gill and I saw him playing in basically a rec league game over the summer, and that surprised everybody. But should we expect to see him full bore and ready to go back-to-back, no restrictions for Ben Simmons?
Yes, absolutely, Pete. I think that was the probably the best news that came out of Brett's, the information that Brett gave yesterday, and Brian, was that they don't expect to have any restrictions for Ben Simmons. Brian Colangelo said that he has been playing 5-on-5 for some time now, unlike Joel. Ben has been doing this, throughout the offseason. And, according to Brian, he was dominating the gym with, all these young Sixers players. So I think Ben now, after that full season on the sideline, will be, ready to go full bore without restrictions, which is something that, Sixers fans will be pretty excited about.
Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. We're talking with Michael Kaskey-Blomain about the Sixers and their upcoming training camp session. Hey, Brett Brown said that the Sixers will check with the rest of the league to see what they can get for Jahlil Okafor. What do you think they can get for Jahlil Okafor, and how actively are they trying to shop him?
I don't think that the market for Okafor has changed much, Pete, since, the last 10 times that the team has tried to shop him. I think that they're basically just open to all offers. I think pretty much everyone across the league knows that Jahlil Okafor is on the table. It's not, what Brett said yesterday is not so much of a change, of course, from what it's been. I think that, it'll be an ongoing thing. Brett will certainly give Ja every opportunity to earn playing time in the rotation while he's here. He said, said yesterday that he expects how much Ja plays this season to really be determined by how he plays in practice and in camp and everything. So the opportunity will be there for Ja to earn some minutes with the team. But while that's going on, they will continue to entertain and seek out offers for him. It's become pretty clear that he does not have, a long-term future with this franchise. So I think that'll probably be the next, major move that gets made by this team whenever the time comes.
At the real Mike KB on Twitter, Michael Kaskey-Blomain. What about in the event that Embiid is damaged goods? Does that factor into their game plan at all? I mean, does Okafor have to be around, and that maybe they change course if they just get to, for whatever reason, that they just can't count and trust Joel? Do they have to rethink the Okafor situation because of that, or do they say, you know what, we've got Ben Simmons, we've got Markelle Fultz, we've got Dario, we're in a fine position. Yes, Embiid's the difference maker, but we can move forward with what we have, and let's see what we can get for Okafor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. That's a great question. And I think at this point, I don't think that the team views Okafor as any sort of a insurance policy for Joel, even if that were the case that, Joel is unable to, be full strength again this season or what have you. I don't think they're looking at Ja as a guy that can kind of plug in and fill that role. So I don't think that at this point, I don't think that Joel's health is tied into, Okafor's spot on the team. I think that if an offer comes, it'll come. And if, Joel is, we all obviously hope that he's healthy and good to go for, 70 games this season or whatever. If he's not, I think they would look at a different type of a small ball lineup. You would look at Rashawn, obviously Amir Johnson just for this season. And then, like you said, you would look at, we have Ben, we have Markelle, we have Dario. That would be the core that they would look at to build from. I just don't think Josh really fits into the picture in that scenario.
Yesterday, Brett Brown said he sees Robert Covington starting and ending games. He also kind of mapped out the defense, and he kind of said Fultz on the 1, Redick on the 2, I guess Robert on the 3, Ben on the 4, and Joel on the 5. Do you see Covington in that role as well, as a guy who's going to start end games and kind of be one of the 5 to 6 key contributors on this roster?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Robert Covington will play a huge role for the Sixers this season. I had expected him to start. It was, it was nice to hear Brett finally basically say that would be his plan moving forward. Robert over the past couple of years has just developed into he's the team's by far best perimeter defender at this point. His shooting has been up and down, but we know that he can shoot, and his ability to, keep the defense honest and stretch the floor will help, obviously, Ben and Joel in the post and Markelle. So he brings something that's great for the Sixers and for today's NBA to both ends of the floor, especially defensively where he's, earned himself, worked up to the title of being, one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA and a two-way guy. So I definitely see him in a role that he'll start and play, clutch minutes for this team down the stretch.
Hey, Michael, Brett Brown hinted that T.J. McConnell will be the backup point guard this season. In fact, his quote was, "How can we not play T.J.? In my heart and in my mind, the kid wins." That was his quote. Is that a surprise to you? Do you see T.J. in the rotation?
I was a little bit surprised that Brett came out and said it that bluntly. As you said, I think that there'll definitely be a little bit more of a competition in camp, obviously, with Jared Bayless returning from injury and looking to secure some minutes. Obviously Markelle will be the starter. I know Brett has a strong affinity for TJ as well as many of us do for, just the tenacity that he brings to the floor. And just based off that, I think that he's earned a spot on this team and will get minutes. I'll have to wait and see if he really locks up that backup point guard spot over Jared Bayless over the course of camp. But, I do expect to see TJ play, some sort of a role for the team this season, absolutely.
All right, Michael Kaskey-Blomain, the Sixers getting ready to start at camp next week. We'll have all the Sixers action right here on 97.3 ESPN, and you can follow him at The Real Mike KB and check out all his Sixers stuff this season on our up-to-date, new, sleek website, 97.3 ESPN. The redesign looks good. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Great talking to you.